Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are starting with a black canvas, which is obviously, if you've followed any of my tutorials, I really love starting with a black canvas. Not only can you paint over an old painting that you didn't really like how it turned out, which happens to me all the time. I don't always like what I paint and I just kind of go, okay, this one's going to get a redo. And it saves materials and it just allows you to practice with more ease. So we pre-painted this black 8x10 panel canvas, and I'm going to do a peacock today. So we're going to start with a medium to large round brush. Like, you don't want it to be too small because we're going to cover a good amount of space. We're going to start with our blue. So I'm going to take blue and white and mix it together. So I want just blue and white first. Now I'm going to go ahead and start right in the middle at the top. So if I find the center towards the top here, this is where I want the face of the peacock to come to. So I'm going to make a hook shape that goes right there, just making a little point at the center and then arc it up and around to make a hook that's going to run right back towards the middle again. So see how I can come right back through the center of the canvas. So making this hook, pulling it back through and then pulling it up. It's almost like an S. So try to think of that. Then I'm going to make a little patch right here and color it in at the bottom of the S shape. You can always adjust this, so don't feel too attached or concerned if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want. Now I'm going to continue with this color on the left side of the S shape over here. I want to make it a little thicker, and then it's going to puff out just a bit and come right under this. So I'm going to go a little bit further down from this space, and it's going to kind of tuck back in. Okay, so now we have all this space here, and I want to color this in blue, so you can use more blue and less white to make this a little richer over here on the left. And just color that in. Maybe not all the way, see, I'm leaving a little bit of space. Now you can also take that darker color up to the top here, and we can make this a little bit more oval. So it's like pointy, but it kind of is like an almond shape here. We want that to start to happen because we're going to put the peacock there, and I want to put little dabs hovering right above that with the blue too. So I'm just going to take the blue, and you're just going to dab right above. And then maybe take some more white in your blue and dab again, but don't cover your first layer all the way. And then you can take more white in your blue, and you can add more to this space right here to make it a little brighter. And you can add more to the left side of the top of your S shape to make that a little brighter. So here we're just playing. And then what I want to do is go from this space right here, this kind of, you should be towards the center. And I'm just going to pull this brighter blue down and wiggle it over to the left. And then it's going to pull from the top right here and wiggle down off to the right corner. And this is going to be like the tail dragging down. So what I can do is make little dots in that space like that. We're doing really abstract here, but it's just one fun way to play with this idea of a peacock. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be realistic. And then I can add some yellow into my blue to make green. But I still want white mixed in because we're on a black canvas. And what I'm going to do is just take that kind of within the blue and around it over here. And you make little circles around the blue dots that we made. So I'm making circles around those blue dots and then kind of coloring it in a little bit. And just try to let it be relaxing. And then you can add even more yellow and white to make it even brighter, and then take that right around the blue. So I'm just outlining that first initial blue dab that I did. Now you can always pause and just do this at your own pace, or you can watch the tutorial through and then paint along with me Sometimes it's helpful to do that if you're like really beginning and you're like not sure what's happening at all. It can be helpful to do that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is add some pink colors into the design. So I'm going to clean the brush all the way and come in with some pink. So I'm just using red and white. And I'm going to pull that into the feathers here, like right in the middle of the space. Just get that in. And then maybe I have a little bit of that pulling on the yellow, which might make it look a little bit orange. I'm not covering the yellow all the way. I'm just adding to it. Again, we're so abstract right now. So abstract. And then I can take that pink color and pull some flowers in the background. So maybe I just make like little circles layering together, and then you can push a little harder to make these tapered lines to build out a flower texture, just like that. So easy and fun to do. So little tiny circles coming around, like making a spiral kind of, but with broken lines. And then push and release, push and release, push and release, push and release. Very, very meditative. I'm gonna do another one here. Push and release, push, release. And then maybe add a lot of white to make a really light shade of pink. And then I can do some more of those little flower patterns, maybe coming off the canvas in some spots, or just in other parts of the canvas, maybe making them a little smaller or whatever. So change your shades. Try to make some variety. It's funner that way. You can even have some little buds like this, or like little leaf shapes. Again, super abstract. We're not trying to, you know, get too crazy here. But you can switch over to a smaller round brush, which is really helpful to get our facial features on the bird. So I want to use that yellow with white color. So a lot of yellow, a lot of white too. And then just make a little triangle coming off the tip of that almond shape that we made for the beak here. So now we have like a little beak, and you can even use that bright yellow while you have it on your brush. You can pop some more in down below to do another layer. So this is all a layering process on a black canvas. So black canvas is like, it's just like that. You kind of have to just layer to get your colors looking the way you want. You can't just put one layer and be like, okay, it's done. It won't look finished unless you put multiple layers, because the black kind of absorbs the paint and then it gets dark again and you have to keep reapplying. So I'm going to add some yellow to my pink and create a different shade of pink that looks like a little bit warmer, like peachy. And I'm going to add that shade to my existing flower petals with the smaller brush. And I'm not covering the first layer all the way. I'm just like adding to it. Just adding. And then maybe for the ones that are lighter colored, add more white to those to make a lighter shade of that peachy color. And then add that to the lighter ones. So fun. And I want to use that peachy color to pull little lines from the top of the head up to those little blue dabs at the top. Just using that color. You can really use any lighter color that's going to show up on the black canvas that you'd like. And then if you don't like anything you painted, you can always put paint black over it. It's totally fine. But I'm gonna add more green. So get more green, blue, and yellow, plus white. And pull that back down below in between these other shapes here on the peacock tail. So just want to make it a little bit more vibrant. And then maybe you want to add a bunch more blue, and it's okay if you have a little bit of yellow in. It's just going to change your shade. I have a little bit of that green, but I added it to my blue. It gives me a whole different vibe. And I'm going to put that on the chest of the bird here. Looks pretty. And then you can even put it on the neck, around the face a little bit, maybe even dab it in the top of the head. You want to just get as many shades going as you can. Maybe I put some up here in this part, little dabs. So fun. And then I could also take that kind of teal color and add some foliage, little leaf kind of marks or stems in the background. You can use the green or the teal or whatever, any of those colors you want. You don't have to, but it's kind of fun to just have a little bit of texture in floating around in the background. And then you can always add a couple shades to it. So if I add like some teal or green in the background, I will definitely want to create a different shade and add a couple layers, just like we're doing with everything else. And then just clean your brush when you want to change it up. Maybe I want to go for more of that light blue where it's just blue and white. And put more of that here on this part. Look how it got so much brighter. And go back on the head. You can put some in back into these shapes down below, wherever you want to see it pop. But you want to have a couple shades in the tail right in the center. So we did like the light blue, but we also want to have some of the dark blue towards the bottom. So you can use either pure blue, or what I'm going to do is take blue with a little bit of black. Blue with a little bit of black. And between your colors, just clean your brush. And go in and add that little dab towards the bottom of those little bright blue in between those yellow circle shapes that we put in the tail. And then you can even add some of that color like under the body of the bird right here. You want to get some contrast. You can put it in the face, on the bottom of the face a little bit. So fun. Wherever you want to get there some darker, that's where you're going to use the darker. You don't have to, but it does help pull your colors together. Looks pretty. Now I'm going to use the black. You can use pure black, or you could use the black blue, whatever you want to do. I'm going to put it right in towards the center of the almond shape here. And you want to make another little almond shape inside, so you can make that eye look kind of almond shaped. It's very small. You can use that same color to add a little bit of a line in between the beak to make the beak look separated. Like make a line right in the middle of that triangle shape. You can even kind of outline the beak shape a little bit, or reshape it, or paint over parts if you need to. And then you could also add some pure white. So clean your brush as we go around the eye. So we're going to just make a little dot right at the top here and then pull down towards the beak. Like that, and you can kind of underline the eye on this side, and you can add a little white dot inside the black part of the eye. Sometimes I do two, but you can just do one. It doesn't matter. And then I can take some of that pure white And I can add it into the blue feathers here just by making little dabs. You'll see how that looks kind of fun. Maybe I want to add some white like on the chest just to make some of that turquoise pop a little bit. So you can always pull in the white to really make things brighter. Maybe I want to go around those yellow parts and add some white. Maybe I want to add some white to some of the flowers or the stems or anything. This is what really makes things look a little more shiny and pulled together. So it is important to add like at least 3 shades to each thing, whatever it is. So it doesn't have to be white, but white is going to give you a really intense contrast. So it could look really cool, especially against that black canvas. So you may not want to take it that far, but it might actually look really cool. I'm just making little white dabs here. And then maybe I want more pink or something. And do that red and white again. And add more pink. Let it be a little different each time you add it. So wherever you're adding these colors, if you do it again, make it different the second time. However you got to do it. Make it different because that's what's going to make it pop, and the whole thing is just going to have more depth if you have more variety. So clean your brush, play around, you know, and go back in for more blues. I'm going in for more blues. I feel like I got a white got a little too much right there, so I'll just tone it down with the blue. And then you can even mess with your beak a little bit. Maybe I want my beak to have a little bit of an orange flavor to it, so I can add some yellow and red together and make the bottom part of the beak look a little darker. And then I can add some white and yellow to the top part of the beak to make that look a little brighter, so that you get more variety on your beak. You know, anything you can do to just ramp it up. Maybe you want to use some pure red on some of those flowers. It can minimum 3, minimum. Not, doesn't have to be 3. So I say 3, that's just your minimum. So you can go 4, 5, 6. You can go more than 3. You just don't want to go less than 3, because less than 3 will look extremely flat and kind of boring. So you don't want to do that, because then that it's like painting is all about creating interest to the eye. And then the eye sees and goes, oh, that looks kind of interesting. And then it wants to look. But if the eye just sees and figures it out really fast, it's not interesting. So part of making like an interesting piece of art is making it interesting enough so the eye kind of looks and goes, oh, wow, there's this, there's that. And you may not even consciously notice that you're seeing it, but it's there. So your eye definitely notices, whether your conscious awareness knows or not, your eye does. So that's what's creating the interest and your desire to look at it. So see, I can just dab in the pink wherever I want to see it. And again, you can take your black and paint over things you don't like. I'm going to let it go though, because I don't want it to go too crazy. I'm keeping it really simple, really abstract,